Welcome on into Wager Talk Extra, final show of the week, and on MLB opening day. We're happy to be here with you. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and it's an MLB free zone. I mean, we'll talk to one of our baseball experts on the show, but we'll be talking about Japanese and Korean baseball, because here on Wager Talk Extra, we love to remind you, no matter what you're cashing on, that money is all going to spend the same. So, alluding to that expert, it's Tokyo Brandon who's going to shut down the show for you. He's got a future play, a Friday play, and a Saturday play to get you action throughout the weekend. And whether you watch the games or not, just put the bets in and then wake up the next morning after KBO is played at like 5 in the morning, and then you're like, oh, I have more money in my sports betting account. That's the way that I always do it with Tokyo Brandon's plays. And right here at the top, going to welcome in my man Andy Lang. We got a little auto racing to get into, and something tells me this guy's going to have a little bit something extra for you viewers here live, just because he's a man of the people after all. Well, anytime we talk auto racing, we like to talk about the biggest screw-ups of the weekend. And we also have a visual aid for the folks this week, Andy. It's Stenhouse Award winner time. And who do you have worked up for the biggest gaffe of this previous weekend?
Well, NASCAR is the gift that keeps on giving. I was getting worried. I didn't have too many nominees. And then Ryan Preece came in hot and said, I'll be the nominee this week. It is, without question, Ryan Preece and duct tape. So late in the race, Ryan Preece comes in and he's involved in a pretty bad accident. So his car is completely banged up, but it's the end of the race. So they want to try and keep him out on the track. So this is what they did, Dan. That's his car after they fixed it. So if you want to take a gander there at the right side of your screen there, look at how they tried to fix the front end there. What is that? 6 or 7 pieces of duct tape? So this is a real picture of how they fixed it, and then they sent him back out onto the track. Like, that's a safe car to be involved in a race. Of course, NASCAR said, absolutely not, go back in the pits, your day is done. But shout out to Ryan Preece and his pit crew for literally putting a few pieces of duct tape on a mangled and destroyed car and sending it back out, saying that is race caliber. So Ryan Preece and duct tape is this week's Stenhouse Award winner. No brainer, and definitely one of my favorites so far early in the year.
So just brief little story here. My brother, he lived in San Bernardino, California for a while, and he traveled across the country. And apparently, I'm surprised he even made it back alive, because he got like stuck in a desert. His car broke down multiple times. He was driving a little Nissan Versa, and when he pulled in the driveway, it was held together with duct tape and shoestrings. Was the only thing holding the bumper on.
Yes.
So Ryan Preece, eat your heart out. The household, we know all about fixing cars with duct tape. However, we're not in a multi-million corporation racing around a track. So a worthy Stenhouse Award winner. All right, so now let's look forward to this weekend. NASCAR is headed to Richmond, and what should people expect, Andy?
A boring race. That is what you can expect from Richmond. If we want to take a look at the track here, it's a shorter oval. I don't think it's quite a mile. It's not big enough to be a cookie cutter, so they're not going to be, all out, with a ton of speed. This is a track that they raced on twice last year. The races were just you can't pass in these new cars. So once it got green flag, it just went and went and went and went. So Denny Hamlin was really good. Kevin Harvick was really good. Bubba Wallace really struggled. Tyler Reddick really struggled. That's last week's winner. So you can get some good information on some guys that did good on this track and did bad last year. Try not to look past 2021 for track history here, because they're in brand new cars. So it's not going to be very exciting. And I will just be very honest with everyone. This NASCAR season, I'm not accusing NASCAR of doing anything shady, but it seems like every race comes down to multiple cautions at the end. And that has created volatility, and that has cost us some wins. Last week, we talked about on the show, I'll take Chevy to win the race. Well, a Toyota won, and then Chevy finished second, third, fourth, fifth. So we've lost several bets that we were winning because of last-second cautions. And I just have to tell everybody, when I first started betting NASCAR, this was a very easy sport to handicap. NASCAR is trying to make this more exciting at the end. Sure, it looks better for viewers, but we had multiple cautions with 3 laps to go and multiple restarts, and that is where the chaos starts, and that is where bets go to die. So I will be dialing back NASCAR betting for the foreseeable future until we can guarantee that these crazy cautions are not going to happen. It's not predictable. We hate volatility in our bets. We hate chaos because we feel like we have an edge on the books. But once that gets introduced into our bets, it's a recipe for disaster. So we're going to be very, very Formula One heavy this week, and I would just caution everyone out there: be very, very careful with your NASCAR bets. If NASCAR is hell bent on getting that exciting 1 lap, 2 lap race to the finish, they are going to keep throwing these cautions, and you're gonna have some very frustrating outcomes. But Richmond, not going to be an exciting race. Not going to be very many bets for me. Maybe one, but instead we'll focus on Formula One to add to the bankrolls.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Andy, that's what you and your team have afforded yourself the luxury of, is you don't feel as confident in a potential sport. All the eggs aren't in one basket. I caution sounding like Steve Merrill, but the way that you have diversified your portfolio, Andy, with you and your handicapping team has allowed you to say, hey, let's take a step back. NASCAR's been great to us, but we have some other sports that we feel like we can continue keeping these edges. Volatility is not the approach for Andy Lang and his squad. WT.buzz/AL. All right. Hopefully this is a little less boring to talk about. That's the Australia Grand Prix track. Looks like a good one here. What should folks expect in F1 action? And I believe that's where your best bet's going to be coming from too.
Yeah, this should be a pretty easy track for the guys to navigate. Very fast. We're down in Australia. There's just not a lot of bells and whistles to this track, so hopefully we get we actually kind of want this race to be a little bit boring because we feel like we have a really good read on the teams. You're seeing some teams already messing with some of their cars. Red Bull coasted to a 1-2 at the end of the race. They said that they were worried about their cars and they're worried about their engines, and I just saw something an obscure article saying that, well, they're not sure if they can finish the race. Well, if them dominating like they did last week is them worried about not finishing the race, good Lord, I hate to see what happens when they're confident in their cars. We saw Mercedes look better than we expected. We saw Ferrari struggle a little bit. We saw Fernando Alonso put on yet another great show. So I think we're just going to keep riding these streaks, which are Red Bull as the clear-cut best, Fernando Alonso and that Aston Martin is going to be very fast. Mercedes and Ferrari are going to be fighting each other. McLarens are going to stink. They just they're just so far behind. They're one of the teams that's trying to make some adjustments, but this should be a really, really fast race. So we talked about the difference between those teams. It should be exasperated on this track. So if Red Bull truly is that much faster, this is a track where they will pull away quickly and by huge margin. And if Fernando Alonso is once again a top 3 car, he's going to be running alone in third, while Ferrari and Mercedes kind of tag along behind him. So fast track, fun, pretty photogenic. So it's a good watch. But maybe if you're worried about Red Bulls, you take a little bit of cautious stance with them. I'm not worried about the reliability of Red Bulls. I think everything is just fine. And don't think Formula One doesn't throw little stories like this out there to try and make it a little bit more exciting. Like, oh, maybe Red Bull might be struggling. Then they finish 1-2 by 20 seconds. So looking forward to it. I have a lot of bets, a lot of little parlays with some multi-sport parlays. And Dan, the multi-sport parlays have been working great. So excited to cash more of those this week.
And like you said, not so bearish on Red Bull. You're bullish on Red Bull, and that ties in perfectly with your best bet that you have here for the folks. It's a double podium that you're thinking. How does that work out, Andy?
If their engines don't explode, they're going to finish 1-2. There's your handicap. I know we want a 2-minute clip out of this, but I mean, really, that's it. They're the 2 fastest cars, and it's not even close. I mean, Max Verstappen started 15th, and Fernando Alonso said he would be in second place by the 25th lap. Max Verstappen actually passed Fernando Alonso on the 25th lap to get into second, and then the Red Bulls just cruised around for another 1-2 finish. So I don't think the reliability issue is going to be that big of a deal. They've had 2 weeks to work on their cars. I think it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. Minus 165 is a really good price. And like we always say, get it in now, because once practice and qualifying happens, if Red Bull qualifies 1-2 and they don't have any issues, this thing's going to be minus 265. So you can lock this in now. You can, parlay it with something else. That's one thing we've done with this, but there's a bet you can take a minus 165 or you can throw a little parlay on it. This bet cashed with Max Verstappen in 15th position, and it took him less than half of the race to get up into the podium. So just keep riding Red Bull, and this is a bet I will be playing pretty much every single week. So it's this week's best bet, but just pencil it in every time there's a Formula One race. Red Bull double podium.
If Red Bull doesn't go boom boom, they will go zoom zoom right to the top and finish in the top 3. That's the tagline for the best bet. All right, Andy, I'm going to send people over to their page. Not right now, finish the episode, but wt.buzz/AL. You're going to find some best bets there loaded already. And as you let people know what's over there, you also have a little free best bet here for the folks in some Bellator action. So shut it down for them, Andy.
Well, Bellator and PFL have been really good places to make wagers this year. So I'm going to do it this weekend. There's no UFC, but we have a 4% best bet that is up on WagerTalk.com. We're number one in MMA the last 365 days, and we're number one this year. And that's not all UFC. So we pay close attention to Bellator and PFL. I'll give you a best bet here. This is in Bellator. You're going to take 2 fights that will go under 1.5 rounds. The first is Bryce Meredith versus Brandon Carrillo. And the second fight is Lucas Brennan versus Josh San Diego. Both of them under 1.5 rounds. And they both have very similar stylistic features. You got 2 fighters as big favorites. They are heavy wrestlers and great submission artists. And the 2 guys that they are facing are absolute chumps. Josh San Diego is not on this caliber. Lucas Brennan is an absolute mauler. He actually tries to finish people with unique chokes. He is open that he wants to try and be the first to finish guys by certain chokes. So not only is he wanting to get the finishes, but he's wanting to do it in style. This fight will be over real quick. And Bryce Meredith, same thing. Great wrestler. He's going to attack the takedowns, and he's going to get him on the back. He's going to submit him probably in the first round. Brandon Carrillo has 1 fight. I went and watched that fight. It looks like it was in a storage garage with folding chairs with people sitting on it watching. He won that fight because the other fighter got hurt. Nothing special. He'll get finished real quick. So Bryce Meredith and Brandon Carrillo under 1.5 rounds. Parlay that with Lucas Brennan and Josh San Diego under 1.5 rounds. And our 4% bet is for sale up on WagerTalk.com. Number 1 this year and number 1 last 365 days.
Unique chokes is what Andy Lang has done to the books over the last week and so with all the units they have gained. Check Andy Lang out over his page. Grab that 4% play that is locked and loaded right now. We're going to step aside, and when we come back, Tokyo Brandon's going to shut down the week for us here, talk a little NPB and KBO right here on Wager Talk Extra. Welcome on back here to Wager Talk Extra. Excited to bring in our next guest because one of the bittersweet parts of kicking off Wager Talk Extra was the fact that my first true love and first show I ever hosted here on Wager Talk, the KBO Asian baseball show, was no more. But that didn't mean I didn't have to stop hanging out with my man Tokyo Brandon. He's sporting, what is that, Hanwha Eagles that you're rocking on the lid
correct.
there? I still remember my teams, Brandon. So I know you're getting excited about this season coming up. This is really where you just bolster folks' bankrolls. I mean, as far as KBO and NPB goes, this is where you look forward to because you find that there's a lot of exposable spots here. Maybe the odds makers not taking as much care in the numbers that are posted, and you take advantage of that year after year.
Very much so. And one number that I particularly want to take advantage of is a future play in Japanese baseball.
Oh, all right. Well, what do you got for the folks?
So the numbers were released, and the Oryx Buffaloes are the defending champions. But as many of you who follow Major League might know, their best hitter, Yoshida, who was wonderful in the World Baseball Classic, he's been signed by the Boston Red Sox. So they've lost their cleanup hitter. And they've lost a couple other pieces. But when I look at the futures for Japanese baseball, they're still the favorite to win it all. And I kind of disagree with that. Before they were the champions, the SoftBank Hawks were the perennial champions year after year after year. And they kind of took a back seat when Oryx surged. However, the SoftBank Hawks have added a couple of pieces. They've added a slugger named Kondo from Nippon Hemp Fighters, and they've added some really good relief arms. So I'm really high on the SoftBank Hawks this season, and at DraftKings, this was plus 400 for Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks to win the championship. I really like that for a couple of shekels. I'm not putting it as a 4% play or anything like that, but if you want to lay $20, $25 on that and enjoy the hundy when it comes in, I certainly would be happy with that.
Yeah, and if the Oryx Buffaloes too take a little step back, since they're both in, I believe, the Central League together, you could also be learning about this bet as the season goes on. You see Fukuoka maybe at the top of the standings, that number drops a little bit. So maybe this is one to store in your back pocket, maybe do a half unit play, something like that, and then see how the Central League starts shaking out, and then maybe go larger if this number either gets a little bit better or if things shrink a little bit. Maybe you'll have a hedge opportunity another way. But personally, I think hedging is for gardeners. So I just say ride with the play with Tokyo Brandon and move on. All right, so we got a little overview at least of some teams that you think might be moving forward, might be moving back in the NPB, and this is Japanese baseball we're talking about. But the folks love the actionable info that they can bet on right away. A game going Friday is between the Yakult Swallows and the Hiroshima Carp. I think you got a side that you're liking in this one, Brando.
Exactly. I'm actually going to be attending game 2 of this on Saturday afternoon. It's at Jingu Stadium in Tokyo. So I'm going to that Saturday afternoon. But the Friday night game I'll be watching on TV. I love the Swallows in this game. This is the home opener. This is opening day for the Central League. What I really like about this is fading Hiroshima's starter. His name is Osera, and he's actually a decent pitcher. But against Yakult Swallows in his career, he has a 7+ ERA and a 2+ WHIP. He's been awful against the Swallows. The Swallows starter, I don't have a lot of confidence in him. His name's Ogawa. He's okay. He's not bad. He's not terrible. But against the Carp, he does pretty well. So I think he'll do well enough. And I've looked through the numbers. The Swallows have the home run champ Murakami. They've got the number 4 home run hitter in Yamada. They have a better lineup, a better bullpen, and I'm really just fading Carp's starter Osera. He's awful against the Swallows in his career, and I expect him to be awful here. So this is actually a 4% play that I gave to my clients about an hour ago. So I'm giving it for free for all of the wonderful viewers on WagerTalk Extra.
Look at that. See, a man of the people giving you one of the free client plays. And you can go check out Tokyo Brandon over at his page, wt.buzz/TB. He's got some plays locked and loaded, some future plays to eye as well. And we have a great deal. We'll share that with you in just a few here, because last thing I want to talk about is the KBO. This was one that I learned so much. I mean, we, with our man Adam Trigger, who we're going to have to bring on here, we would do some best bet parlays that we were cashing on. And we know they're negative EV wagers, but they're so damn fun. But KBO opening day is going to be this weekend as well. It's Saturday. And while these lines aren't maybe available for anybody on regulated sports books, there are some numbers that are out there that maybe we can take a look at, that when it does hit DraftKings, hit FanDuel, hit some of these nationwide books, folks will be able to use your opinion and maybe even get a little bit better of a number. So opening day Saturday, a little overview and any play that maybe you're eyeing with some of these rogue numbers that are out there.
Yes, the KT Wiz are playing the LG Twins, and last year, if you watch the Asian baseball show, I liked to compare the teams, do their average runs per game against each other. And when I ran these two teams actually have a 6.8 runs per game, which is the lowest in the entire KBO. And on opening day, they're both going to be starting their best pitchers. I looked at a what shall we say, non-orthodox book, and these lines were already out. And this particular game, the over/under was 9. Now, I don't know when it comes out on the regular books like DraftKings and FanDuel. I don't know if that's going to be 9, but if it's 9, I'm going to jump all over it. So keep an eye out Friday night. If the KBO lines come out and you see the LG KT game at 9 or even 8.5, I would jump all over the under on that game when the lines come out.
Looking towards the under. Tokyo Brandon, man, fitting all kinds of actionable info in for the folks. You got a future look, you got a Friday look, a Saturday look. Man of the people, and enjoy the game, man. Looking forward to hearing how that goes.
Appreciate
You
it.
at the Yakult Swallows and Hiroshima Carp. Hope you have a good time. And before we let you go, Brandon, I know this is your favorite part of the year, and folks can ride right alongside a sport that you have just continued to cash in on, not just across the way where you are in the KBO and the NPB with Korean and Japanese baseball. You can get Brandon's Major League Baseball selections as well, a former scout, and you can get that for just $6.99. That includes every baseball play. The diamonds are all the same, whether they're in Korea, Japan, here stateside, or even up our friends in Canada. Get MLB, KBO, and NPB just for $6.99. And I know you already have some plays loaded for NPB. They're half off over at your page, right, Brandon?
That is correct. Until June, mid-June, every Thursday, all plays are half off at WagerTalk. It's even better than $9 Monday. I do have a couple of 4% plays that I put out in Japanese baseball. I just gave one for free, but I do have another one, and I have another 3% play out packaged together for $4.50. That's half off the normal price, which is $9. So yeah, go to my page and you will find those deals. You can also get my entire Major League, Japanese, and KBO seasons for $6.99. I'm the number 2 all-time all baseball capper at WagerTalk, so you'll probably get some decent value out of that. So that's available at Tokyo Brandon's page at WagerTalk.com.
Appreciate that. That's Tokyo Brandon. Check him out, wt.buzz/TB. And that's going to do it for us. Another week here of Wager Talk Extra rolling to a close. Hopefully, you're enjoying your opening day baseball here. Make sure you hop in with Tokyo Brandon so you never miss any of his releases that he is dropping there. Grab that long-term package, just $6.99. Big thanks to TB. You'll be seeing him a lot here on Wager Talk Extra over the coming weeks and months. And big thanks to Andy Lang as well, getting you ready for the auto racing circuit this weekend. That's going to do it for us. I'm your host, Dan Alexander. We will be back locked and loaded. Big UFC event coming next weekend. So we'll be back with Kyle Anthony, our man Moneyline Matt, Andy Lang, Kevin Dolan, all the guys coming back. And it's going to be a great week of shows. So make sure you join us. Hit that little bell so you never miss any of our terrific programs at Wager Talk TV or Sports Memo TV. And until then, we'll see you back here on Wager Talk Extra.